You are listening to the After the Timeout podcast, hosted by Todd Zazadil and John Pilicki, two high school head coaches looking to help others spread their passion for the game of basketball. Tune in for episodes about anything basketball related, on the court, off the court, and anything in between. We at the After the Timeout podcast would like to take a full time out to talk about VREPS basketball. Coaches, do you get frustrated by how some players just cannot seem to learn your offensive system? Are you spending countless hours teaching your offensive system to your team just for them to forget by the next practice? You should check out VREPS. VREPS was founded by basketball players and coaches to create tools that make learning plays easily a reality. VREPS allows coaches to turn their 2D playbook into a 3D interactive video game that players can watch on any mobile device on their own time. Don't just have players watch film, have them live it and control the players so that they have a better, more efficient learning experience. It's free to try. Go to vreps.us to sign up today. All right, on today's episode, we are joined by Jaycob Ammerman, video coordinator at the University of Central Florida. Coach, thanks for joining us, and how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. Happy to be on, and looking forward to talking to you guys.
All right, Coach. So we have a segment called our opening tip, where we like to ask our guests just kind of an opening question to get the episode flowing. So for all of our listeners, Coach Ammerman's very active on social media, especially Twitter. A lot of good stuff, a lot of good content. I think you got like over 22,000 followers or something like that. But who are some of your favorite follows on Twitter, or people that follow you that you've kind of communicated with, kind of in your process of building up those followers?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've actually never had anybody ask me that. I think for me, because I love basketball so much, I really enjoy seeing like the pick and pop stuff and all the X's and O's people put up. I'm always trying to study those things, but on a personal level, like I enjoy following Jay Billis. He's one of my favorites. Fran Fraschilla. A couple of days ago, I tweeted something, and it was pretty cool. I grew up being a huge Dwayne Wade fan. And D Wade happened to tweet one of my tweets about Chris Paul. And, there's sometimes those things happens, like just kind of sit back and think how cool that is, just because I grew up my whole life watching D Wade. And for him to, put his name, kind of above mine, it was really cool. So I enjoy that kind of aspect of it. Social media, can connect people who you never thought, there would be any connection to. So outside of Billis and them guys, Fraschilla, I would say, I am a huge football fan. So I enjoy following, motivational stuff, Ray Lewis. Enjoy seeing his stuff that he posts. So usually X's and O's, motivation, and somebody like Billis is kind of a little bit of everything. He cracks me up. He just did something about the NIL that really cracked me up the other day. So just following guys like that.
So, Coach, obviously you're a video coordinator. We've had some guys that were previously video coordinators, but we haven't not had a guest on that's a current one. So for our listeners, we kind of wanted, so many guys want to come up in the game and be future assistants and start out as grad assistants, video coordinators, dobos. Kind of take us through that typical day for you during the season. Obviously, every day is a little bit different, but kind of what are your daily tasks?
Yeah, so like this, your question is during the season. I'll just kind of hit on, the life of a video coordinator is broken up into seasons, and I can kind of just really fast go through that. Like my summertime is so much different than my season time or springtime. So spring is kind of when the season's over. you're moving into how can we get better for next year. And that aspect is also recruiting, sharing videos to coach of recruits, potential recruits, but also showing videos to coach from the season, like how can we run our offense better? How can our defense improve? And that also includes player development, clips from the season of our guys, and stuff like that. Then when we move into summer, it's a little bit different. You're kind of a jack of all trades. You're doing video stuff, but you're also helping out with camp, trying to promote your camps in the summer, doing kind of all those little things. But summer's kind of the same as spring. You're kind of gearing up for next year, so you're starting your summer workouts. So that's for us. That's when we build, our habits. How we're going to defend. So we're doing all the little techniques. Really teaching. It's a huge part of teaching. Is in the summer for us. So kind of involved in all those little aspects. For example, like pick and roll defense. We're showing our guys video of pick and roll defense. If that's something we're working on improving, we're going to show them summer in the summer before practice. Each practice, we're going to show them something from pick and roll defense that we're going to practice. That's one of the things I love about Coach Dawkins is he understands that kids nowadays are visual learners. So it's nice for them to see the video of the kids doing it or NBA players doing it, and then we go on the court and do it. So after summer, you get into, fall practice, season time. And that's when you kind of have to hit the ground running. It's a little bit of everything. I find myself working a lot during the season. So we're talking like 6 a.m. wake up and, can be in the office around 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I do it a little bit different than a lot of video guys have kind of talked to is no matter who our opponents are, I watch every game that they play in that season, no matter, obviously games 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever, it's a little easier. But when you get up to 17 and 18 games, it's a little different. But pretty much my job is to make Coach Dawkins and the assistant's life as easy as possible when it comes to scouting. So breaking down anything of our opponent, and then also I have to analyze our team and showing coach ways for us to improve on a daily basis. So that's my job. That was kind of a quick overview, I guess. It was probably 5 minutes, but there's so much little details that go into everything, and it's not just so much video. I know the title's video coordinator, but any college basketball staff, no matter what support staff position you're on, you're kind of a Swiss Army knife. You're kind of doing a little bit of everything. I find myself helping the ops guy or helping our player development guy. Just like this week, we had Hurricane Elsa coming. I was packing water and sandwiches for the players in case, the storm got bad. So you kind of find yourself doing a little bit of everything.
So just kind of curiously, take us through what you feel is one of your biggest challenges on a yearly basis, and what's one of your favorite parts of the job?
I'd say probably my biggest challenges is, on a personal thing, my biggest challenges is I love basketball, so I throw everything into season time. So trying to find time for myself during the season, I throw it into watching every game. So that always makes it tough to find time. Obviously, I have a wife at home, so time management is definitely challenging during the season because you're kind of doing it all. I mean, you want to be pretty much those 3 or 4 days or 2 days sometimes you get for scouting one game. There's so much time and preparation that goes into a 40-minute basketball game. So the one thing I always want to do is I want our guys to go out there and just everything's kind of all the boxes are checked, so they don't have to go out with any unanswered questions. So I'd say time management is probably the biggest thing. Outside of because I work with technology, some things you just can't control, whether camera breaks or computer shuts off during a film session, or those are the little things that really bother you. But you know, a computer's a computer, sadly, and some things you can't have any control on. So um, I'd say the best part of my job, the most rewarding part, is being around the guys. That's easily the best part. All that work you do for them just to see how much it helps them off the court, on the court. It really means a lot. I just think back to our tournament team. Uh, all the work we put in with Taco Fall and BJ Taylor and all those guys. They still call me today and tell me how much that their time at UCF meant to them. Those are the little things that make all that time that you spend on the kids. It just makes it all worth it, and just those relationships with the players and the staff. That's the best part of my job.
So you just mentioned time management, and obviously you're watching every game and doing all that, but how do you find that balance? What are some of the things that you do? Because I think that's important for all coaches, right? We get so wrapped up in it sometimes that we can't find the balance. So even though you're watching all those games and doing all that stuff and the season is hectic, what are some things you do to find that balance and so you can give the best to your program?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is you have to find time to shut off. Like going home, I have to find time to have dinner with my wife, and have to give her time to talk to her about her day and my day. And I think all those like little things that don't seem like they mean a lot that actually do. I'd say that, and trying to get a workout in, every day, lifting weights, those are stress relievers that can really clear your mind. There's some things you do have to make time for, and obviously, my wife and my health. Those are two big things. But the one good thing about being a part of a college team is we do have graduate assistants that help our program, so they take a lot off my plate. So when I need time, I can ask them to kind of take over something, and they're really good. They're future college staffers. Um, so really, you just kind of have trust in those guys when you do need time, like just saying, "Hey, I need you to take care of this. I got something to do. I need some time." And that's one good thing about, you have to teach them kind of what so you can have some of that time that we're talking about. So little things like that.
So, now let's kind of dig in a little bit. So, what are the specific things you look for when you're creating, let's say you're creating something for Coach Dawkins or one of the assistants, and you're looking at the film, as you said, of all the games. But what are some things that you're looking for that others may not be looking for when they're watching, as your experience now?
Yeah, I think you know it depends on what I'm watching, obviously. Like, if I'm breaking us down, I'm really watching our standards and what we believe in. Um, Whether that's like, for example, like I'm watching us on defense, and somebody gets blown by, you think, oh man, that's just awful defense. If you're watching on TV or whatever, but I'm looking at what our help side's doing. Um, the little things where I can show on film, hey, he got blown by, which obviously is the first domino. Uh, but look at this domino. You weren't in place, so now that domino falls. This guy wasn't in a stance right here. This guy was hugging his man, who's not a good 3-point shooter. Like, you got to look for all the little details that kind of go into it. Um, that's if I'm watching our team. If I'm scouting an opponent, I think you'd have to find weaknesses of how you can attack teams. Obviously you see, every team, you know, as you're watching them, you find little details of what you think that you got, like our team does good, that can exploit what they do defensively. Whether that's, getting the ball out and push it in transition because they get back slow, or uh, say they're not very good at help side defense, so you want to attack uh, the baseline, maybe like ISO sets, just little things like that that I can bring the coach and be like, hey, check this out. Or like, say you're watching a game and you see a team run the same set like 5 times during the game and get them like each time. I may go to coach and be like, hey, they couldn't stop this. Maybe we'd try something like this. Or say you're watching how I watch all the games. I'm just thinking of an opponent last year. I watched every game of them, probably 10 games, and I noticed that they were really bad at step up ball screens, which is, like a quick flat ball screen up top. Like it just really gave them a lot of problems. So, that's something we worked on and started running. And, you kind of notice trends. And I think that's what I look for in scouting opponents is trends. If I'm watching like recruiting tapes, which is different type of video, you're just looking for fit. You're looking for potential. Um, you're looking for the little things, body language. Those are the little details, that you kind of watch. I mean, um, usually kids just kind of stand out and those type of things that you're looking for. So just little details like that. But those are kind of the specifics on each type of film. Um, it's as you start doing it more and more and watching so many games, I did the math one time. I mean, in the last 5 years, I've watched like 1,000 basketball games, college games. So, you see a lot of the same sets over and over again. So, you get really good. I've been able to speed up my process because I can watch it a little faster now, just because of how much I watch. And usually I'm watching conference opponents, which I'll watch them like a number of times each because we all play each other. So you pick up on little trends and details of each team. So I have like a notebook of like each team that we play and the trends of each team. So I already know like there's some teams that have specific things they do, and that's what they stick with. Some teams change what they do each game. Some teams change things that they do when stuff goes bad, and that's just you just kind of learn trends, and it's pretty cool. It's fun. It's fun to kind of study that stuff, especially for me because I love the game.
So let's take it even more specifically. So let's say it's tournament time, and a couple years ago, you guys had played, I believe, VCU in the first round, and you had basically less than a 48-hour turnaround, and you played Duke. What's the process for preparing for a team at hand, but also getting ready for that quick turnaround if you are lucky enough to win?
Yeah, and that was a little. I mean, for us, I can't remember who Duke played in the first round, but it was a 1-16 game. Um, so we put our full effort in Duke. Just because of the odds of a 16 team winning. But we were still prepared if that upset would have happened. We still had a scout ready to go. But I fully dove into Duke before we even played VCU. And as soon as we beat VCU, our staff, we got off the bus to the hotel, and our staff, we went straight to the film room to try to figure out how to beat Duke. And we got at the hotel, I think at like 9 o'clock, and we didn't leave till like 5 a.m. Went back, had a couple hours of sleep, and got up and gave the game plan to the players. That's the night. I don't know, whoever's on this or listening, if they remember, how Taco guarded Trey Jones. That's the meeting where we figured that out, that we were going to do that. It was kind of a collective thing. We actually did it that season in a game against SMU to one of their players. We stuck Taco on a kid, and sometimes pressure gets the kids and they don't make shots, and that helped us steal about 10 points there. So just little things like that you're watching film and you notice. Sometimes you can do fun stuff like that, but we as a staff, we watch as soon as our game over. Say we play Houston at home at 3 o'clock. As soon as our game over, our staff's up in the film room watching the game back over. So sometimes, after wins, we're up here for a couple hours. After losses, could be like 10 hours. So, uh, and then we move on to the next opponent. We're always 1-0 mindset. So, uh, I will say the tournament, man, I think all the adrenaline and stuff, it didn't feel like that we didn't sleep at all. Because we were so excited about the opportunity.
Yep.
Uh, it was honestly one of the coolest part of any coach's life, just to be with a group of players that I was with. I was with all those guys as they got there, with Taco and BJ Taylor, Aubrey, and just to see how they grew into that moment, it was really cool. And I wish we could have finished that game out. It just didn't everything didn't fall how it should have fell for us, and we didn't get it. But man, just what a memory.
So let's just take that one more step further just with the film breakdown. And I think, by the way, we've all been there with the adrenaline when you win one and you got to prepare for the next day. I know Todd and I have both done that, obviously, as high school coaches in Illinois in the playoffs with quick turnarounds. But, for you specifically, or for UCF men's basketball, do you guys use specific analytics to break down the film? Are there specific ones that you guys like to use based on what you emphasize? And what does the role of analytics play in your film breakdown?
Yeah, I mean, we're more, we're big into like simplicity, where we do use some analytics, that we kind of keep to ourselves, and we give the players the stuff that you know that we think are important, maybe per game, or if we're doing something bad, we'll give them an analytic or like a stat of why we should do this more, why we should do that. But we don't really want to confuse our guys with a bunch of numbers and stuff, so we try not to give them a lot. I think we have certain core things within our culture, which we call absolutes, that we try to do defensively and offensively. Um, I'll try to at least give you one. I don't want to give them all away. We want to touch the paint on offense a certain amount of game, or a certain amount of times a game. And, we found when we, touch the paint a certain amount of times, we usually win like 90% of our games, which is kind of a weird analytic that we have. But, obviously as coaches, you guys know, once you touch the paint, you're creating closeouts, driving kicks. Uh, so we always try to attack the box, and little analytic stat stuff like that we can give our guys that kind of creates a visual, and it's easy for them to understand, like, okay, I need to get in the lane, jump stop. That creates so much for our team. We win 90% of the time, or whatever the statistic is, how much we win. Little things like that. We don't try to overkill analytics. I'd say we do like shot charts and stuff like that, um, but nothing crazy on that aspect.
All right, so let's kind of go back to the start then. You obviously were a grad assistant before video coordinator. And a lot of you just talked about all the things you've done as a video coordinator. And I think a lot of that is moving up is trust, right? You have to gain your coach's head coach's trust and the other assistants' trust. So, how did you get the job as the GA? And then how would you recommend a young coach out there, trying to get into college basketball and become a GA?
Yeah, so I went to Flagler College, and when I graduated there, I got an assistant spot with a coach named Bo Clark. Unbelievable coach, unbelievable person. He actually happened to be the all-time leading scorer at UCF. So he had a huge connection here. His son JP, who used to be the work for the Clippers as head of skill development. He actually used to work at UCF as well. So I had JP and Bo contact Donnie Jones, who is now the head coach at Stetson. He was the head coach at UCF, and they were like, "Come work camp, and if you get into school, then yeah, you got a spot." So I came. I gave it all at camp. I took the GRE, which for me was really hard. I'm not very good at the geometry and the algebra and stuff like that. But I passed the test. Yeah, and I got in, and from there it's kind of history. I mean, I worked for Donnie Jones for 2 years, and I learned a lot. They had a heck of a staff. That's Brendan Sir was on staff, who does coaching you. So became really close with Coach Sir. Still talk to him now. I mean, he really taught me a lot. He was in the NBA for so long with the Pistons, won championships, and then the one guy who really mentored me big time was his name's Sean Finney. He won a national championship as assistant with Tubby Smith at Kentucky. Um, was a head coach at Tulane for a little bit. So, I think for me, what helped me get on staff was those guys. They kind of took me under their wings and just taught me like what I should be doing. I remember my first day at UCF as a GA. I'm in a passing drill. I have no clue what's happening. And, I probably looked like a deer in headlights. And after practice, we come in the office and Coach Finney goes, "Hey, man, come in here real fast. Shut the door." So I walk in and he looked at me, and I'll kind of take some of the language out of it. But he's like, "Hey, man, you want to coach or what?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You look like you didn't have a clue what was going on out there." And I'm a young kid. I mean, I'm probably 21, 22, not really knowing a lot about the business. And I was like, "Coach, it's my first day out there." He's like, "You need to get your, stuff together. Like, if you really want to coach." And, that was his way of being hard on me, but that kind of locked me in of like, I really want to coach. So I need to figure this stuff out. So, having guys like that definitely helped me. For 2 years I was with them, and you know, Coach Jones, got let go at UCF, and Coach Dawkins came in like a week later, and I was at the end of my GA spot. And I kind of went into this mode like, I've been here as a GA. I've done all the right things. I've learned how to do everything. Like, I'm gonna find a way to stay on. So I was here when Coach got here, and his new staff got here, and I kind of took it upon myself to just be here like 24 hours a day and show them the ropes of where everything's at UCF and how the video stuff here works to everything. And I kind of made it where, it would hurt to lose me kind of thing. Like, Jacob's always here doing this stuff. Like, he makes life so much easier. We can't get rid of him. And about a month later, Coach told me I was hired. It was pretty cool. But I will say, for guys that want to get in the business, coming from GA, that the one thing about my story is the timing and the luck was there. But, if I wouldn't have worked hard, I wouldn't have had the chance. So the hard work was a huge part of it, 90% of it. But the timing of, just happened that Coach, it sucked at the time. Coach Jones got let go. And, Coach Johnny Dawkins, a legend, got let go from Stanford, and he didn't bring a staff with him, which is unusual. I mean, unusual for a video guy. Sometimes that happens. So it just happened that he had a spot open for me. So 90% was hard work, and that other 10% was just luck and timing. But what the preparation that I did do is what really helped me get the job, because I kind of knew how everything worked here. So, and the rest is kind of history.
I think that's most things that happen in life. 90%
Yeah.
Just being there and 10% luck.
Yeah. I mean, I tell the story now, and it's like, seeing some people that are out of the business, knowing how hard they work. I'm just sitting here like, man, I got so lucky. It just happens. I mean, I'm so thankful. Like, everything happened how it was. It was almost like all the dots just connected, like right in front of my eyes. But I always tell people, though, I wouldn't be here if I didn't take those 2 years as a GA seriously, though.
Mm-hmm. So, you had mentioned some coaches you had worked for and worked with, and then you kind of alluded to Coach Dawkins on obviously being a legend and around the game forever. what are two or we all learn from coaches we work with and for, but what are two or three things that you've learned from Coach Dawkins that you'll carry with you as you go through your career?
I think one of the biggest things I've learned from Coach is, um, just because you're like the top guy doesn't mean you get casual. Like Coach is the hardest worker in our program. He's always working, always watching film, always has the mindset of figuring out how to win or doing stuff for our guys. So that's one of the things. I never see Coach have a bad day. Um, it's always personable. He's just what you would think of, like, you hear a lot of story about, in any business, you hear stories about bosses who, you know, are lazy or whatever, but Coach is nothing like that. I mean, he's legit. he is legit. When I say legend, he really is a legend. Outside of that, I mean, his film study is unbelievable. I'll go in and watch film with him, and he sees things, to this day that am watching and I don't even notice. And, he notices it. Like he has one of those minds that he like remembers stuff from like the little details that you don't remember. Like, I think the other day we were talking about something, and, he remembered like the stat line for one of our games like 3 years ago or something of one of the players. And I'm like, how the hell does he remember that? And so he's very sharp, uh, work ethic sharp. And then the best thing about Johnny Dawkins is he is a terrific guy, and he's very understanding about time and about relationships. My wife, family. Um, he's cool about vacation times, which you hear in the basketball business some coaches aren't. Um, he understands you know the stuff that happens outside of work that's non-basketball. He gets it. And even in basketball, like, say the computer breaks down during film, he's very good at adapting. It's not the end of the world. As you hear some coaches, they'll light up the video guy for you know the computer not working on that day, or something's not done. uh, he's very good at not doing that. But he does have a side to him, and that's why he's really good when we step within those lines to the players. I mean, he's tough. The players really respect him. Those are the three main things that makes Johnny Dawkins who he is. And he's incredible. I mean, I can't imagine working for somebody else than Coach. I mean, he makes every day just kind of unique. I mean, he's a constant learner, changing our offense, defense. He's always on me, to figure out new techniques, figure out new sets. So it's really cool. He puts a lot of trust in everybody, whether it's the video guy, GA. To him, a great idea can come from anyone. Manager, we've done stuff a walk on has said before, to a manager, to me, to anybody. So it's pretty neat.
All right, so I want to dive into you a little bit more personally, because you got tremendous stuff, on Twitter. You put awesome stuff out there. You're obviously super knowledgeable. You watch so much video. You mentioned your networking and the people you've connected with. So, how did your kind of brand, evolve? How did, I guess, the idea start? Was it, you kind of putting some stuff out there and it went from there, or was there a specific plan to it? How did that evolve for you?
I've kind of always been intrigued by like social media and Twitter and stuff, and I've always known that's something that I've recognized that I wanted to do, like an influencer with basketball and stuff like that. I just never knew how to do it. Uh, so I started kind of studying certain things about Twitter, 3 or 4 years ago, that there was people out there putting up sets and that kind of stuff, which um, I saw I saw a way that wasn't really happening a lot, and that was through motivational videos. And I noticed, in the basketball community, sports community, it was mainly sets or football sets or whatever. So I started posting motivational videos, and through my network, Johnny Dawkins' teammate in college was Jay Billis. So Jay Billis started retweeting some of my stuff. From that, I started getting followers from the NBA to college. Uh, when I started kind of building that, brand up a little bit, then I started doing my own sets or stuff that caught my eye or motivational quotes. So it kind of just happened that way. Just certain people started following. I've had, like I said, Dwayne Wade, retweet. I've had, Ray Lewis, Damian Lillard. I mean, I'm still waiting on LeBron. Hopefully that happens one day because that would be pretty sweet. But finding ways like that to be kind of unique. I'm interested in certain things like I'm trying to think like I think I was one of the first people, and I started studying this like to do like the bold print on Twitter and like the italics and stuff. So I think one of the first times I did that, it got like 10,000 retweets because people are like, how the hell did he do that? So finding different ways to be unique. Um, and then marketing kind of takes care of itself once that brand starts going and people see, Jaycob Ammerman, you know, once you kind of are being retweeted all that time, it kind of helps out. People are kind of interested in you. And then one day, I got verified like out of nowhere, which obviously helped. But there wasn't one thing specific outside of just working hard, putting up content every day. I mean, I use content that I had kept for years. I have this hard drive that I've had for 15 years that over time, I just started keeping motivational videos, and I have it all organized very neatly. I have sets that I've loved for years. So a lot of things that I put on Twitter is stuff on that hard drive that I've just kept for years. Um, just something I've always been interested in, and I'm still trying to brand myself even more, trying to find ways, um, trying to find little things. It's to be honest, it's kind of like a passion for me. Um, I wouldn't. I mean, I guess it's a hobby, but I enjoy putting content out there. I've had people hit me up telling me I inspired them to lose weight by a video or a quote or something, or I was, you know, through a tough time, I inspired them by something that Kobe said through a motivational quote. Little things like that. It just kind of keeps you wanting to keep going and stuff like that. Or, I remember this time last year. I think it was last year. I put up this set on on Twitter, and I'm watching the TBT, and I put up the set the night before of a elevator door set, and the next day I'm watching the TV tournament and they run that set, and I'm sitting there thinking like, did they just run that? Because I hadn't seen that ran since it was from the Warriors from like 5 years ago. And so you see little things like that, and you're like wondering, is that from the set that I put up? But just little cool things like that that just kind of keeps kind of fueling the fire a little bit.
So you just talked about, I guess, some of those skills, and I think those are kind of trending, upcoming skills that assistant coaches need to have, video coordinators, even graduate assistants, right? All the way up to head coaches. So, what are some things that maybe young coaches or any coaches that are up and coming and kind of trending, you think that they can do to build their resume and their skills to kind of fit in where the landscape of being on a college staff or just any staff is going?
Yeah, I mean, there's things that I wish I would have done, that I would have done more. I wish when I was in college or even late in high school, or anytime, probably college, I wish I would have tried to get in the car and drive over to close universities and try to meet staffs I wish I would have worked more camps in the summer. I think camps is such a huge, easy way for college kids to meet people, not only staffs. Like I work the Indiana camp, and I remember like 3 of the guys that were counselors with me are now all on college staffs. So those, like, I went there to meet the actual Indiana staff. At that time, it was Tom Crean. So right now, I still communicate with Tim Buckley, who is on that staff, just from working that camp, and I still communicate with the counselors that were with me at just that one camp. So I think working camps is such an easy way, and it's not like it was that hard to work it either. I just sent an email to the ops guy, like maybe like 3 or 4 months before, and just kind of explained why I wanted to work it. And all you got to do is, they said cool, and that was it. It's not as hard as one would think. Just put why you want to work it, because you want to coach, and that's one of the biggest things. I wish I would have done more of those. Writing letters in college, I think I wish I could have done more of that kind of stuff. This is all stuff that I started doing, after college. But I think coaches love when they see young guys like that are hungry, that are consistent, dedicated, that work their way up like that. Those are some of the little things. As a GA, you can't really work a lot of camps in the summer, because you're kind of, you're working the camp that, like I'd be working the UCF camp because I work here. But the little things that you can do is, you need to wear out your phone and, call as many coaches as you can and create networks. That's kind of the name of the game. College coaches, high school coaches, you're trying to create relationships genuinely, because as a time as a GA and a college kid, it's not like you're using the coaches, because you're just kind of trying to get to know people in the business. I think that's one of the big things, I've had as my time as on staff here. I connect more with people who reach out to me about what I do on Twitter, about my personal life, or about like maybe something I do video wise, rather than people just hitting me up about a job. I think that's one of the big things. If the only time that I see somebody's hitting me up is emailing me about a spot or something like that, it's hard to connect with people like that. So you want to be very genuine about, creating those relationships with people.
So as we finish up, we have our 2 segments left. Our first segment we like to do is we call it the 30-second timeout. So it's your platform to talk about anything you want. Tell our listeners about your program or something you're passionate about outside of basketball, or an outside organization or charity you're with, or a story that you like to tell, or anything. And as we joke with all of our guests, it's a rough 30 seconds. There's no referee in your conversation telling you your 30-second timeout is over. So for 30 seconds, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'll just tell a quick story about that tournament team. We had just got beat. With that team, any loss really hurt, because we didn't have a lot of them. We actually bought this sign that says "Get lost in your fight." Late in the season, we weren't in the tournament. We bought this sign. We all dedicated, giving our best effort to the last couple of weeks of the season. We all signed it. That we would all get lost in the fight together, that it was only going to be about basketball, no matter what. And that's kind of, I think we won. We went on the road and beat Houston, who was number eight in the country, and they had won like 28 home games in a row. And that kind of put us in the tournament. So I always tell that story that, sometimes you got to get lost in the fight with your group or program. And that sign is actually hanging up in coach's office right now. I don't know if that
All
was
right, so
30 seconds.
Oh, go ahead.
It's always third. That's a rough third.
Yeah,
that's okay.
I wanted to try to get it. I was trying to follow the rules, man. Those 30-second timeouts when you're on the floor, they seem to go like seems like they're 5 seconds, not 30. So.
You'd be the only guest to ever follow the 30, so you're good.
Yeah.
All right, last segment, just kind of rapid fire questions. Could be basketball, could be just anything. All right.
Okay.
Answer it any way you feel. Your favorite Disney ride?
Tower of Terror.
All right, we got in Florida, craziest place you've seen an alligator.
Probably at my high school and PE class outside on the soccer field.
Favorite movie of all time?
I love Christopher Nolan movies, so probably Interstellar.
All right, we got favorite action or set from the playoffs so far.
That's a tough one. I can't really give you one, but I love what Utah and the Denver Nuggets, all their packages and how they do their offenses. So those two teams.
All right. Suggestion for high school coaches when watching film.
High school coaches, I think the big thing is simplicity. You're watching college and NBA players make everything look easy. You gotta know who your personnel is and know what they do. Simplicity is a lot easier for high school kids.
All right, and I won't take credit. This is Todd, but if you had to pick a retro NBA jersey to wear, who and what team?
So I have two. I love pinstripes. So the Pacers in the late 90s, 2000s, they had a blue or yellow or white, all blue, yellow, and white with a white pinstripe. They were awesome. Reggie Miller would be my Pacer. Or you guys will know this one, the all black with the red pinstripe Michael Jordan Chicago Bull jersey. I think that one's awesome.
There we go.
Yeah, that one's awesome.
Well, he made up for it after he said Reggie Miller. He would have lost the Chicago audience there for a little bit, but he made up for it with the Jordan jersey. So
I grew up in Indiana, so I grew up watching Reggie, so that's my guy.
You could have gone with like the Detlef Schrempf jersey, he's
yeah, I guess I could have. Yeah.
Sonics and Pacers, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate you jumping on with us. Awesome stuff, great stories, a lot of interesting background into what you do, and you do so well. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on, and we hope to keep touching base with you here down the line.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. You guys do a great job, and this was fun.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the After the Timeout podcast, hosted by Todd Zazadil and John Palicki. For more show content and upcoming episodes, follow us on Twitter at After the Timeout, or subscribe to our podcast for upcoming episodes. For show inquiries, you can email us at afterthetimeout@gmail.com. You can find all of our previous episodes on Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Google Podcast, and Apple Podcast by searching After the Timeout. We appreciate you listening. Tune in next time for more basketball content on the court, off the court, and anything in between.